It's been fantastic. Thank you. This has been so helpful, not only for us, but I know for so many watching.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, we want to sort of clarify, just pause for a moment, because we're talking about mental health. There's so many ideas about what that is. At what point do we address something as being a mental health issue? Roxanne?
Well, mental health is on a spectrum, just like your physical health, right? You can be very healthy, moderately so, or unhealthy. And the same can be said for your mental health. But when we know when we have an issue is when the things that you're dealing with start to impact your daily functioning. You know, everyone gets anxious. That's just a part of who we are as human beings. But when that anxiety starts to impact your connection with your family, your day-to-day activity, being able to go to work or go to school or communicate or participate in your community, then we're having an issue.
That's so helpful, isn't it, Bill? Because I think it's easy to just blanket everything as I'm having a mental health issue.
Right. And I think you're right. When you can no longer function normally. I love that. Now, you both believe that destigmatizing and discussing mental health with your family is really essential. So why is that so important?
Well, I mean, to Roxanne's point, we all have a unique capacity for life and to think and to feel. Everybody's a little bit different. And instead of seeing challenges as things that are getting in the way of our capacity to function, to think, to process, we sometimes see things as a disease or something you can catch or something that's befallen you that is, you know, oh my God, like, we got to get you help. We got to take you to go see a coach or a psychotherapist. We got to, and it creates this distance between us as opposed to normalizing, okay, well, figuring out what's going on here, because everybody has a degree of mental health and wellness, and everybody's ability to function gets impaired and impacted at some point in their lives. This is a part of everyday life. But when we say, oh, you got mental health, that's very different than saying, okay, what's going on? You look like you're feeling anxious. What's going through your mind? Help me understand. This is not new. This is a part of life.
Yeah, and so Roxanne, you're a psychotherapist and a mom.
I am.
So, okay, how do those two worlds mix, and how do you talk to your boys about mental health?
Yes, those worlds collide, interestingly. And I literally practice what I preach every single day as I parent. One of the things that we do, and I talk to parents all the time about this, is, you know, to Andrew's point, normalizing some of these issues, right? Talking about their own anxiety, you know, my own worries sometimes. Sometimes they have peers who may have a diagnosis of one thing or the other, and we talk about what that's like and what they understand it to be, and how things can impact them. We talk about the importance of talking, right? You know, my older son and I, we have this thing where if there's something bothering him, sometimes he might not want to talk about it in the moment, but he'll say, let's have our bedtime chat. Because that's when his mind gets quiet and all the important things come to the surface, and we have a chat at bedtime, and it settles him before he can go to bed. I talk to parents also around resources that they can access in the community. And, you know, if there is a particular phone number or a mental health organization or a crisis line for children, I encourage parents to put that number on the fridge. Talk to the children about what that number is and how they can use it. You know, as parents, we want to be the direct person, the first person that our children will come to, but sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll go to Uncle so-and-so or Aunt so-and-so or grandmother or mom's best friend, or if it's a crisis line for children, then at least it's there and it's accessible. And we talk to the children about what it's for. It can't just be that the only time we can access support is if we need to dial 911, right? We need to give the children the resources and talk about things openly so they know how they can access support.
Right, so if I'm hearing you correctly, what I'm hearing is don't communicate to your children that they're somehow abnormal or broken or unrepairable because they're struggling with some mental health issue. Rather, normalize it in the sense that, hey, we all struggle in different areas, some more intensely than others,
Yes.
but let's work through this together to find a solution.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Because when we normalize the ebb and flow of life,
Right. Seasons too.
there
Yes,
are precisely there are
100%.
seasons. One of the reasons why teenagers really struggle around high school is because they're invited to think about the rest of their lives. And what am I going to do?
Right.
And if I don't know what I'm going to do, where I'm going to end up, then it just cycles in, because we
Right.
talked about this earlier. We tend to fill in the blanks of uncertainty with things that make us anxious because we don't know. We feel this
Right.
pressure. Well, I have to. Nobody knows.
Right, exactly.
Nobody knows where they're going to end up.
Right.
Like, I have not met one person who said, this is where I knew I was going to be, and everything lined up perfectly. That's just not the way life is.
Right.
So when we can tolerate, okay, it's a stressful time. Okay, well, this makes sense, right? We can start to really understand. And I tell people all the time, the road to healing is paved with understanding.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
When you start to understand yourself and understand what's going on, what's at the heart of these things for you, then we start to come back to ourselves and our ability to function optimally.
Yeah, that's so good. And I just love you said this word a few times this week, Andrew, opportunity. When we talk about things, when we normalize things, it's an opportunity, right? For growth, like we would in any area. I was a teacher for a long time. And the opportunity for growth in learning or development of any kind is when we, in many ways, de-escalate that negative potential idea of the future and ask what is happening right now.
Exactly.
100%.
And that's a great resource for us as parents to recognize not the what ifs, but the what is. And
We face
centers us.
challenges every single day.
Yeah.
One of the questions I ask my kids quite often is, okay, so what was most challenging for you today?
Good.
And how did you meet that challenge? Whether or not they succeeded at what they wanted to do or they didn't really doesn't matter. We're engaging around, okay, that was challenging. Well, this was what was challenging for me today. Because a lot of the times we feel powerless and we feel stuck, and we don't function well when we feel vulnerable and powerless. But just being able to stop and think and reflect to, say, okay, well, this is what I would do differently next time around. Because the next time around is coming.
It's coming.
It is coming. It might be even more intense.
Right?
Well, that is so powerful. We want to continue this conversation. And so we're going to keep talking about mental health with parenting and with Dr. Andrew Blackwood and Roxanne Francis in a moment.
If you or someone you know is struggling today, we want to help you find hope and healing. Call our prayer lines at 1-855-759-0700 and you'll receive Successful Families and our Book of Hope. We'd love to pray for you and provide you with the tools for your journey towards wholeness. We're offering them for free when you call today.
Well, thank you so much, Roxanne and Dr. Drew, as we call you, just for being here and enlightening us. As I'm looking back and reflecting on my own life, I'm seeing, kind of the good, the bad, the ugly, but it's never too late, is it? It's never too late to become more aware and healthier in our relationships. And, we talk about many things related to mental health, but as professionals in this field, what do you see coming into your offices or into your, in regards to families and children specifically?
In my practice, my team and I often see parents who are wrestling with how they were parented and how it's spilling over into their own parenting and wanting to make a shift, wanting to change that narrative, worrying that it might be too late. Oftentimes, we see clashes between teenagers and their parents. And what I'm realizing is that I'm doing a lot of educating for parents because they're not recognizing that some of the challenges that they're getting from their teens is actually age appropriate. Right? And so sometimes parents will come in and they will say, well, my child is having a mental health concern. And when we unpack it, this is actually appropriate, right? Your child is supposed to grow away from you when they're 17 years old, right? They're no longer 5. They don't think that everything that you say is correct. right? They are going to disagree with you. They're going to individuate. And some of that is okay. And when we unpack that with our parents, the parents take a deep breath and they go, oh, okay. So, and then it changes the relationship that they have with their teen, because they're no longer thinking my teen is broken.
Yes.
Right? And so it takes off some of the pressure in the family. I also see anxiety and depression, some of that from, what's going on in our society. Sometimes a shift in family dynamics, but helping the children to understand that they're not alone. I think we spoke about that earlier this week. Sometimes the trauma isn't necessarily what has happened to the young person, but feeling that they're alone with that thing. And so helping the parents come alongside their youth in that.
So what you're saying is,
I love that.
don't control to fix, but direct to release.
I love that. Should
Right.
write that down.
Right? So your job isn't to control every environment to fix them.
Right.
Your job is to direct them so they can be released as fully functioning, autonomous human beings.
Yes. 100%.
That's success. Oh, I love that.
What do you see, Andrew?
One of the things that happens when parents eventually reach out, I wish parents would reach out a whole lot sooner.
That's a
But
very good
They
point.
find themselves at this place where I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say. And what we want to actually be able to do is scroll back and realize what it is that you actually have to offer. Parents have so much to offer. Like you're saying, we're not really trying to change our children. When that's our objective, then we become controlling.
Right.
Right.
Right? We want to tell them what to do and how to do it and when to do it. But as parents who love our children, we can actually pull back and think about who these children are.
Yeah.
Who did God create you to be? Like, remember who that person is. That's one of the things that I start with parents. I pull back and we take a different look about what is prayer. Right? A lot of the times we go to God and, desperation, God, please, please, please. But that just reinforces the anxiety, right? But when we pull back and we go to God and say, thank you for this child.
Yes.
They are so, and have a template, you fill in the blanks. Literally.
Amazing.
They are so wonderful, they are so warm. It reminds you of who this child
Yes.
is. And then you think about, where do you want to see this child going and growing? And you shift from what they're not doing to what you want to see them doing. And more times than not, parents and children, they want the same thing.
Right.
Who wants to feel anxious? Who wants to feel angry and out of control? Nobody does.
Right.
So it shifts us to say, okay, you know what? This is what I believe you want from my child, God. Let me find out from my child what it is that they want. Are we in alignment? And it's a completely different approach.
I love that.
Well, I can tell you, what you just shared there did transform me as a parent. In years where our kids were not living the lifestyle and having the values that we thought and wanted them to have for good reason, we got good advice because we went to a counselor. And I think there's just a lesson here. Go to get wise counsel, not just in the crisis, but seek help.
Right.
And the counsel was given, my husband and I, you're kind of forgetting, you're looking at these behaviors, but you're forgetting who your children really are. Let's go back there. Do you know that calling out the best in our kids when we didn't actually see it was the best thing we could do. And then they knew we loved them and we actually saw that in them and we weren't all harping on all the things we didn't like. It was restorative in our family.
Yes.
So I just wanted to reinforce that. That is so powerful when you're able to do that.
Yeah, so if parents do need help right now, they're watching, or grandparents, what would you suggest? What are some steps they could take to find the help they need?
Well, we love to help. We love to help, right? That's part of our season of service, right? info@coachdrew.ca. You can always reach out.
Okay, how about you, Roxanne?
Yeah, you can find me at hello@Francis Psychotherapy. Myself and my team, we're here. We support children and adults, couples, parents all throughout the lifespan. And we support all kinds of mental health issues, but relationship issues, stress issues, and we are happy to support. I think one of the things that people don't understand is that there is no shame in accessing support.
Yes.
Getting support, getting advice doesn't mean that you can't parent. It doesn't mean that your child is broken. It doesn't mean that your home is dysfunctional. I mean, there are some homes that need some more help than others, but being proactive, you're going to take your car in for service and not only ask for help when you're stranded on the highway, right?
Right.
Don't wait for a crisis. If you are looking to understand your child more, there's nothing wrong with getting some support.
Well, an athlete going to strength and conditioning, we don't say, oh, there's something wrong with the athlete. No, they're
Right.
just working on their skill to be even better. And we want you to know that if you need help today, you can also call us at any time, and we can help direct you in some way, but at least pray with you.